Welcome back, everyone. In the past, we've talked about brand new retro video games that have come out. So this time, let's actually talk about a brand new retro console. So the Chromatic is from ModRetro, and they sell it at GameStop. Right now, it only comes in a silvery color, but it can actually play Game Boy Color games, and then some special games that are made just for it, which a lot of them are titles that you can also get for Game Boy and Game Boy Color. So they're not really exclusives as far as what I've seen, but it is cool that they're actually making some of the games for this. So we'll go ahead and pop this open and take a look to see what all's in here. We are going to run it through a bunch of different tests just to see what you can and can't do with this. Use a little cutter here. Now you have to be careful when you buy this from the stores, because they will try to sell you the floor model that's had fingerprints and everything on it as brand new. Make sure you get one that comes in the shrink wrap if you're buying one. So then we have our little magnetic box here. Kind of some cool artwork on the box. Try to make it look all retro style and school style, Math Quiz Friday. So the system is actually made out of metal, so that's kind of nice. Has a nice feel to it. Then we'll pop this up. We have our ModRetro Chromatic Tetris. Plastic shards all over on it. And then we have 3 AA batteries. And then that moves and there's nothing under it. So we'll put that back. Doesn't look like there's any paperwork or anything that comes with it. So nothing that we need to throw in the trash. So the system does have the little connector, which we are going to test that one out. Ooh, it has a little plastic over this. Take that plastic off. Sapphire screen. So it's a higher quality screen, so it's one that you can probably put in your pocket and not have to worry about. Buttons feel pretty nice on it. Chromatic First Edition. Now USB-C on the bottom, that's supposed to be so you can do a USB-C video. So we'll test that out to see if we can get the USB-C connecting to HDMI. Just see what kind of weird things we can do with it. But if any of you have seen this channel before, then you know what we do on here is pop things apart and take a look inside first. So it has the 3 AAA batteries, which they all face the same direction in here. It talks about a rechargeable pack, but they don't have anything like that in at GameStop currently. And the one near here, they didn't have any of the other games. It's some of the other locations that are further away from here have some of the other games for it. So this does require the much hated tri-point screws. So we will pop all these out of here. I don't like these. Whoa, that's a long screw. I don't like tri-point screws because on some of the older video games that have them where things are rusted, if they get stripped at all, then they are just very bad at being able to remove. Okay, we got that one out. Never taken one of these apart, so make sure all the screws are pretty easy to know where they go back in. Shorter screws for the top. They asked me at GameStop if I wanted to get a warranty on it, and I knew I'd be taking it apart, so definitely declined on that. There we go, a little more lighting in here. So we have the 4 from the shell done, and then there are 3 inside the battery bay. So I was a bit of a dum-dum, and last time I was working on some Genesis systems, I forgot to plug the camera back into charge. And just so you know, there will be a pretty fun Genesis video coming up soon. So back to this one. We will remove these 3 screws from the battery bay. And these are short screws. At least everything is consistent, and you can use the same screwdriver for all these screws so far. Okay, and that looks like all the screws, so we'll remove the back shell. Okay, so that is definitely looking more modern than a regular Game Boy Color looks. Okay, so inside it looks like we have 1 screw to remove right here. Okay, and then we will grab this and lift up. Oh, okay, we are going to have to pop this up. There we go. Oh, that just came off, which is fine. There we go, that's what the chromatic board looks like. And then in this part of the shell, have our silicones, we have our buttons. So just lift up, just kind of standard standard looking buttons here. Let's take a look at these. Yeah, just all the normal stuff you see in these types of handhelds on this part. And then our fancy screen. Not actually going to take that one out of there. And I believe down here we have the speaker. Its own little weird assembly. Okay, well, we're going to get this put back together and then take a look at the game next. So while putting it back together, I just want to point out this piece here that comes off. There's just a little button under that this pushes up against. Just thought it was kind of cool. And then it actually looks like you don't need to have the battery bay ones removed to take the back shell off. They probably made some of that stuff easier since the guy at GameStop said that there are going to be shells coming out in the future for this. Then the back shell goes on. Okay, and we have this put all back together now. So then we have Chromatic Tetris, which uses one of the standard game bits that Game Boy games used back in the day. So we'll get that popped off. And let's see how Tetris looks. There is Tetris. Kind of a cool looking board, nothing on the back of it. So that is modern Tetris there. So just for fun, I want to do a quick comparison here with the original Game Boy Tetris. So that's the original one, that's the new one. So of course they look completely different, but just thought it'd be kind of a cool side-by-side comparison. So now we'll get those all put back together. Actually I had issues, that bit wasn't wanting to go back in there. Finally got it though. So I guess one of the important things to test on here, if you have a case for a Game Boy game, those ones do fit inside. So if you get chromatic games, you can keep them safe from dust and everything with Game Boy cases. But now, after looking at all this stuff, let's see what this looks like with Tetris inside. So I have these special ModRetro batteries in here. I still find it weird, but all the pluses go on this side and all the minuses on this side. So we will get all three of these put in the same direction and then put the battery back on there. So then what do we get when we turn it on with nothing in here? Okay, you get nothing. So we'll put the ModRetro Tetris game in here. Okay, that's a volume adjuster on that side. That actually gets pretty loud. Single multiplayer credits. Oh, there's the classic music. What is this? Oh, those are the main settings for it. So we have brightness, system, there's firmware. Turn that down a little bit. Player, the controls, display. Okay, so A and B is how you adjust. I'm turning the brightness down a little bit just for the camera. Okay, so that's the button on this side. Okay, that looks like all the weird buttons around on the system. New player. A guest player. Okay, well, instead of playing this game, let's see what it looks like with Pokemon Blue. Because I'm sure most people are going to buy stuff like this so they can play Pokemon games. So it's actually looking and sounding pretty good. Okay, so we hop in. Yeah, everything seems to work with that. But what we're going to do now is test out the link cables. So I have a modded Game Boy Color here. Just get in the game here really fast. So both systems are plugged in, and let's have a chat here, see if we can trade. Save the game. Let's see. Try this again here. So this isn't picking up the link cable. Just doing a quick clean out of the link area. Just swapped out the link cables. Now I'll see if it'll work. Okay, just in case I swapped it out for the Game Boy Light. So it doesn't look like this is linking together either. Well, then I'm going to try something else. Okay, so the Game Boy Light and the Game Boy Color would not link with the Chromatic, but I'm going to try them with each other. Yeah, so it has a please apply here. So it does not look like those are compatible with the Chromatic. That's kind of disappointing. So link cable test failed with the Chromatic with the older Game Boys. Now one thing I do want to try is the Chromatic game inside a Game Boy Color. So it fits in there. Okay, so Chromatic games look like they do work inside Game Boy Colors. That's kind of cool. Now will it work inside a Game Boy Light? Game Boy Light is about equivalent as a Game Boy Pocket, so if it works in here, it will also work on the original Game Boy. Okay, yeah, it works on the Game Boy Light. So then the next test, I'm going to try it with a Japanese game. Okay, looks like everything works with a Japanese game in there. So that's good. And then another important test, using a wisdom tree game like Spiritual Warfare. Nothing on there. Let me make sure the game's clean. Okay, the game was pretty clean. Let me try it on here really fast. Okay, so it works on the Game Boy Color. So we'll try it back in here. Okay, so Wisdom Tree games do not seem to work on this. That's sad. Now, one of the newer Game Boy games, I know Chromatic has their own version of Traumatarium, but a newer Game Boy Color game works just fine. So it just doesn't like Wisdom Tree games. And then the other question, these garbage little, like $3 on AliExpress fake Pokemon games. Do fake games work on here? Okay, so it looks like it treats the fake games better than it treats Wisdom Tree games. And now the next test, we are going to test that USB-C out to HDMI. Okay, so we have this hooked up to our little dock right here. Then I'll turn our little retro camera on and then turn this on. So it doesn't seem to work like that for video out. I'm actually going to try this again. I have this other dock here that's kind of hooks in there a little better since it's a cable that goes in. And that's hooked to HDMI. If I remember right, on the menu, yeah, there's display, USB. That doesn't look like it does it. So that does not work. Quick Google search, I have this hooked up USB-C directly to USB-C. It was saying in stuff like OBS, let's see, that it is, there we go. So it's picked up like a webcam on there almost. Well, that's nice. It's upside down on there. Okay, almost have it. There we go. Got it working on there now. So everything is set up on there for audio. So I think that is good. Oh, well, you know what? We'll just do Gump. So what are all these? Coin, that's like Mario. Yeah, this is pretty much Tetris. So it does play on here. It's treated as a webcam. So if you have to hook it up to anything, then hook it up like a webcam. Oh, this has the hold stuff. So it's select to hold. Okay. Good to know. Tetris is always so much fun. Well, I could play Tetris all night, so I should probably quit while I'm ahead. So on the box, it says it is compatible with original Game Boy and Game Boy Color cartridge games. That is mostly true. It does not work with good old Wisdom Tree games, everyone's favorite. Has a sunlight readable display. We did not get to test that. It is currently nighttime, so won't be able to test that until later on. Sapphire crystal display cover, a scratch-proof display. I do not want to try scratching it because I actually want to use this. It seems fun. Magnesium alloy shell, crush-proof and hard-wearing, designed to last forever. It is a pretty durable feeling shell, so that is nice. It's kind of like this Game Boy Color here. We have a metal shell on that one. Video out over USB directly from Chromatic. Record your play or stream live. So that is true. Had to kind of look online to figure out exactly how to do that. But it sets it up as a webcam on your computer. Challenge friends face-to-face using link cable. That one I don't know about. Because it did not work with the Game Boy Color or the Game Boy Light. So I'm guessing it's only Chromatic linking with Chromatic. But one thing while we are at it that I should probably test out. So this final fun test here, using a Super Game Boy, seeing if the Chromatic games work in that. There's a chance they will, there's a chance they won't. There we go, it looks like it works in that. So if you just want something that is nice and durable that you can bring around anywhere with you and play a majority of the games, not worry about using link cables, trading Pokemon with people who have the original Game Boys, yeah, Chromatic, that'd be fine. But if you are on more of a money crunch, best option out of all of this, for about half the cost, you could get a Game Boy Advance SP, and it even has a whole pretty awesome library of games that you could also play on it. These ones you could find Sometimes you'll be lucky and find them for around like the $70 to $90, but you're probably looking about $100, $120 for these. So that'd be my personal opinion. If you are trying to save money and you just want something you can play a bunch of games, Game Boy Advance SP, you can't go wrong with that. It has the backlight. You can play all the Game Boy Color games, and also Game Boy Advance. Plus, it has the spots to plug in where you could actually trade Pokemon with other Game Boy systems. If you want something to just play with yourself or play with other friends that have chromatics and to not play Wisdom Tree games, then this is actually a pretty decent system. So let me know in the comments if there's anything that I may have missed or if there are any other tests that you're wanting to see with this. Also, if you enjoy this kind of stuff, then make sure to subscribe and leave a thumbs up on this video. We will have a video like this coming out as soon as the Analog 3D comes out. I'm definitely looking forward to that one. I want to thank you for watching. Have a nice day. I think I'm going to play a little Tetris.